Hello and welcome to episode 38 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby podcast, brought to you as ever by I Spy Surveys, the go-to specialist survey and inspection company based in Exeter, Devon. Wow, what a semi-finals weekend we had in the Gallagher Premiership. There was drama, there was extra time, there was no red cards. Was there any yellows? I can't remember. I literally don't know how the hell we're going to talk about this. I mean, it was fantastic. Ollie is going to be here as ever to discuss it. We will also check in on the news from in and around the game. We'll look ahead to next weekend's final. We'll check out how Sarries got on in the second leg of the championship playoff. And we will look at the fantasy rugby game. That's it, I think. Let's just crack on. I'll stop waffling and boffling. What the hell was even boffling? Anyway, let's crack on with this episode. Hello, mate. How you doing?
Hello, mate. I am good, thank you. How are you doing?
Not too bad at all, thank you. What a weekend, wasn't it? Semi-finals of the Gallagher Premiership lived up to all expectations and so much more.
Yeah, mate, pretty immense, mate. Immense weekend, and
excited to talk about it,
especially the Quins game, wasn't it?
Absolutely. But let's just park things there. How you doing, mate? Let's just check in. Everybody's mental health. How are you getting on?
How are you? I'm all right. Thank you for asking, mate. Thank you for asking. I'm.
Are you busy as always?
As well as can be. Yeah, I'm busy as always, mate. Pretty busy. I've actually got a rare day off actually in the week this week, which I'm taking as a family day, which will be nice, mate. Not sure what doing yet. Probably a bit weather dependent, but
is that today? Is it?
No, not today.
Oh, I was going to say, because does that mean we're under pressure to get this done?
No, mate. I'm working as normal today, but
okay.
Yeah, it's just it's quite nice to do. It's perks of one of the small perks of being your own boss is occasionally take time off when everyone else is. Well, hopefully everyone else is at work, but I don't know. It seems like no one's still back to work at the moment. I don't know what you think. It's
it's
going out and about. Everyone's out shopping and eating out and everything at the moment. No one's working. What's going on?
Well, no, mate, I know, absolutely. I think the year, obviously, or so in isolation and lockdown and all that kind of crap, everybody's just had enough, haven't they, really? Yeah, everybody just wants the world to start going again.
I like, as I say, every now and then taking a day off in the week when supposedly everyone else is at work, because everything's a bit quieter, isn't it? But not panning out like that at the moment.
Oh, mate,
not that I don't like people. I'm not saying I don't like people, Gareth. But...
Mate, I don't like people.
No, me either. I don't like crowds.
Don't like crowds, even though we like going to rugby matches, but that's obviously different.
Yeah, you take it there, mate. Have a few beers and a good time. That's fine, mate.
Absolutely. So before we crack on, well, listen, sorry, I'm glad you're going good, mate, and I'm doing all right as well. I'm doing good.
You're okay, are you?
Yeah, no midlife crisis or anything. I haven't bought a Lamborghini and gone to Hooters. I'm good. Let's just have a little look at the news. Before we obviously crack on with the Gallagher Premiership semi-finals. News from around the game. Leicester have, a couple of Leicester signings. Love it. Yeah, we've already had a brief discussion about this, and you were quite rude. Said you weren't really bothered. But Leicester have signed Argentinian international Juan Pablo Socino from Saracens. And they've also signed another fly half from Super Rugby champions, Queensland Red, Bryce Hegarty.
Yeah, never heard of him, obviously. Before,
no, I haven't. No, I haven't.
That's what's your view as a Tigers fan? Good signing.
Socino's a really good signing. He's a quality back. He can play in different positions. He's obviously an Argentine international, gone up through the ranks. Obviously got some experience from Saracens, so I think that's probably a pretty decent signing to go with the Maroney in the centre as well. Maybe I think he's quite.
Hasn't Maroney left?
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought I heard that. That's why I thought that must be like a straight like replacement.
No, not to my knowledge, mate. He's here to stay.
Okay,
he's here to stay, and obviously I get why they've signed this Bryce Hegarty, because obviously McPhillips and the other lad, whose name completely is gone from my head.
Zach Henry.
Zach Henry, they've both departed. Obviously, Freddie Burns is coming in. There's all that kind of rumour. Is George Ford going to stay now? His daddy's gone. Obviously, he's going to be here for this year, but potentially he could be gone next year. So this Hegarty guy comes with quite a reputation. Played for the Melbourne Rebels, played for the Ricoh Black Rams in Japan. Can also play fullback. So, yeah, Borthwick is definitely strengthening his squad for next season. And I think there's still a few more kind of announcements to be made, which is good.
Yeah, it's like I think you indicated, it's Zach. I thought actually Zach Henry and is it McPhillips?
Yeah,
they're both quite promising youngsters in my view. I thought they've looked in parts quite sort of positive and got a lot of potential there in parts for Tigers when they've played over the last season or two. But so a bit surprised that they've left, in all honesty. But
yeah, I agree. I was as well, and I think Borthwick knows best. Let's just
does he though? Does he? I thought you know best.
I do know best normally, but I'll follow Steve. I'll let Steve have this on this occasion. He didn't reply to any of my emails.
To be honest, they're young. I mean, they've had a bit more experience, haven't they? But those two are sort of young, up and coming, inexperienced players. But if this guy's got Southern Hemisphere top 14 experience, and Freddie Burns has got bags of experience, and George Ford obviously is arguably the most experienced there, isn't he? So that's three pretty
decent fly
solid.
halves.
Yeah,
I agree.
Solid fly up, isn't it? So.
I agree. Well, let's not talk about Leicester for the whole podcast. Sale have signed Cameron Neal. Re-signed, or he's extended his contract to the end of the 2023 season. Right. He's an academy player at Sale, decent lad, made 120 appearances, but obviously didn't feature this weekend because he was injured from the final round in the Gallagher Premiership. So that's good news for Sale. Tuilagi is added to the England squad for the USA and Canada tests.
Yep.
Eddie Jones has also, and that's something I just want to briefly touch on with you, because actually I'm quite annoyed with it, and I just wondered what you kind of felt about it. I'm having a right day, mate. What's the scrum half for Bath called again? Spencer. He's been dropped from Eddie Jones's squad. He's no longer in it.
Really?
Yep. He's released, and so was Ollie Hassel-Collins.
No, I didn't know that. But
I just don't get it. It's like Eddie don't like him or something.
Yeah, there must be something that doesn't fit there, obviously, isn't it? But which is a shame, because he's I think he's arguably the best, certainly, if not one of the best in the Premiership over the last season or so. He's been doing some great stuff since he's come to Bath. So
it's a surprise, mate.
Yeah.
Big surprise for me. And also Hassel-Collins has been on some really good form as well. I'm surprised that he's kind of been let go as well. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird...
I agree. Like, form-wise, he certainly should be in contention for the squad. But there's only so many slots at the end of the day, isn't there? So you can't pick everyone.
Yeah, okay.
There is that, isn't it? So, it's up to Eddie at the end of the day who he picks. But yeah, especially I think in sort of wingers, sort of blessed with.
There's an abundance, mate, isn't there?
Yeah, when you look at it, the youngsters and the guys who are sort of putting their hands up this season, isn't it? There's plenty to choose from. So it's competitive, isn't it? At the end of the day, so they ain't all going to get in.
No, that's true. So obviously after this weekend, he's added Will Capon, Max Malins, Harry Randall from Bristol, Ben Curry's, Curtis Lang. Say again?
No Ben Earl.
No Ben Earl, Ben Curry, Curtis Langdon, Bevan Rod, and obviously Tuilagi, as we mentioned. Saints, George Furbank and Ollie Slyton have also joined up with the Quins. Just got Quins on my mind, mate. And have joined up with the team, sorry. And then obviously after the final, the other two teams players who might be selected will also be brought into the squad. The under 20 Six Nations kicked off as well. I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but England won. England beat France under 20s, I think.
Yep.
And
good result. Pretty strong.
That's a really good result because the French are obviously
squad.
are very good. They've actually beat them 38-22. Ireland under-20s beat Scotland 38-7 and Wales 25-8 against Italy. The Benetton beat the Bulls in the Rainbow Cup.
Yeah.
30, they didn't just beat them, they kicked their ass, 35-8. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting for next season or the season after, whenever it is the South African side join up in the United Nations Cup. And I don't think there's a great deal more around the news, apart from obviously Saracens watch. Did you get a chance to see any of that game?
I did actually, mate. Yeah, I did. I watched. I watched that one on the 2 semi-finals this weekend. So in which was,
you're very informed. Good. So Saracens obviously. Yeah. Sorry, mate.
No, you carry on.
I was just going to say Saracens obviously came out on top, 57-15. They will be back into the Premiership for that 13 teams in the Premiership next season. I think Ealing kind of started quite well. Jackson Ray got sin-binned within the first kind of like 5-10 minutes of the game. Ealing scored, got some points on the board, but then in the second half, Saracens just did what Saracens do and kind of scored 7 tries and came away with a really solid victory. And they're back again. Sarries are back in the Premiership Rugby. They
are indeed, mate. Yeah,
I'm not sure why I did that, mate. Sorry.
Can't really say much more than that on the actual game. What was the aggregate? 117-15 or something, wasn't it, over the two?
It was, yeah, something quite high. But it does sort of show the gulf between the two leagues, doesn't it?
Yeah, and again, we were sort of questioning what they would do on selection. I think we said, going by how they were so brutal, ruthless, clinical, whatever you want to call it, in the first leg, that they would probably go all guns a blazing again, isn't it? And they certainly did. But that's also in a way a mark of respect to Ealing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, good to see that Ealing made a bit more of a contest for at least the first half, wasn't it?
Absolutely. But the Saracens are just class, mate. They're going to be, they're going to come back into the Premiership next season. And
yeah, they're going to be good. I mean, they're going to be arguably favourites with Chiefs next season, aren't they? But
so and Tigers, obviously.
Okay, moving on.
All right. Anyway, so let's crack on with the Gallagher Premiership. Before we start, we're obviously going to start with the Quins game because that was the first on the card. But before that game even kind of kicked off, I just want to mention Joe Marler. He obviously his partner, they gave birth to their 4th child, and he flew in via helicopter to the game, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome, mate. Good, pretty good effort, and then go and do, what did he do? 115 or something, pretty much, minutes of rugby, wasn't it? He stayed on for the full duration.
He was on, mate. He was on, and
after going through your wife's childbirth, which we've both been there, we know what that's like. That
it's hell.
It takes it out of you. The wives have the easy job, don't they? It's hard for us, man.
It's hard for us blokes to sit there with a cold flannel, dabbing their head and holding their hand, saying push.
But no, fair play. I think the chopper, obviously it was extravagant, but I think it was probably the only way he would have going to get the game on time, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just crack on. Let's talk about it. Okay, so obviously not to blow my own trumpet, I did say Quins were going to win, and I did have that theory that Harlequins actually wanted to get Bristol in the semi-final, and even at half-time when they were 28-5 down, I did think to myself, when Don Brandt scored that try, they're going to come back into this, which obviously they did. But let's just talk about that first half. I mean, Bristol were simply on fire, weren't they? I don't think anybody, not even Chiefs, could have touched them in that first half. Everything was sticking. Every player was making yardage. Everything was working, and they scored some fantastic tries.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And I backed Bristol to win, and that first half performance was what I was expecting them to do, and what they didn't do is see it through for the full 80, but what to do and dominate and just really finally sort of flex their muscles as to who they are and what they're about and what Pat Lam's building there, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I just thought it was all gonna click for them, if you know what I mean. And Quins just unfortunately wouldn't be able to cope with it. But and the first half that was the case, but second half,
Yeah, and then the second half
slightly
happened.
different story. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think they said in the second? What do you think they said in the changing room at half time to the Quins boys? Do you
I
think it
really
was?
don't know, mate.
Do you think it was all
That's the
kind of
sort
like?
of thing every team needs to know, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Because they came out in the second half, and I'm sat there and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, am I actually watching this? Is this actually going to happen? And ultimately, it did happen, and they got to 31 all, and obviously went into extra time, and then kind of sealed the game off. But I think Bristol made a few cock-ups, if I'm honest. I do kind of think that they were pulling guys off that maybe they should have left on for a bit longer.
Agreed.
Maybe they were thinking this game's done and buried. Let's keep the guys fresh for the final. I think that was probably a bit of a mistake. And I think they really underestimated Quins, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. I think it was a combination of factors, wasn't it? But obviously, you can't take anything away from Quins and their second half performance despite that. But they were obviously massively helped by like you say, Bristol, Pat Lam, arguably making a couple of errors in judgment on taking guys off a bit too, big name guys off a bit too early in the game.
Yeah.
Like you say, probably thinking we got this one, and rest them for the final. And also, they just went completely off their game, and that was the bit that really surprised me the most, and made you realise actually Bristol aren't quite where they want to be and where I thought they were, and a lot of other people. But Pat Lam's got this everyone knows he's a passionate guy, and he's got this plan and talks about the systems and believing in the process and all that sort of thing. And they lost that, didn't it? The first half was exactly that, wasn't it? They got it spot on, but the second half it just went out the window. Like you talk about, just trust the process and all that, but they didn't. They played into Harlequin's hands, because the Harlequins are the most dangerous when it's a broken, scrappy, open game. And Quins just seemed to play to that, and I don't understand. Even if you start playing with that, just send the message on, sort yourselves out, lads. What the hell are you doing? Just keep it tight and keep it simple, back to basics sort of thing. But they were chucking it around. They were forcing passes, and
Sheedy was kicking it out on the full. Lloyd was.
There was massive errors.
There was significant errors.
I agree. That you're in. I don't like to single out people, but he there was at least 2 or 3 occasions where he literally was just really forcing, keeping the ball open and playing, and forcing passes, and lost the turn. Lost the ball on all of those occasions that he attempted that. Whereas if you'd just taken the tackle, reset, and do you know what I mean? Just keep the ball essentially, because what you don't want to be doing about Quins is just giving the ball and giving them it in open play like that, isn't it? They're so dangerous. So it was a combination of factors in my view, but you can't take anything away from Quins. It was
no, and I think like you're saying that. I mean, Tyrone Green was pretty special, the fullback, throughout the game. But in the second half, it just seemed that individual players kind of stepped up. Chisholm came on, scored his try, and he kind of seemed to give them go forward ball. Lewis Liner as well. I thought he was bloody fantastic in the second half. But then also, again, I know we've mentioned Joe Marlon. I know I love Joe Marlon. He's fantastic. But also Wilco Lowe was putting in tackles on backs that were trying to go around him. In the dying minutes towards the end of the game, I think there was a line out on the left-hand side, and Bristol have kind of got it and spun the ball wide. And then Marlon's putting a tackle in on Sheedy on the other side of the pitch in like the 76th minute. A dominant hit as well. And you just kind of thought, bloody hell, that's what Bristol kind of had in the first half, but obviously, like we said, it kind of disappeared and just disappeared in the second half, and Harlequins really kind of stepped up to the challenge. and obviously went on to win. I mean, what was your kind of view of that Northmoor hit on Piatow at the end? Was it high? Was it? Although I don't think it would have made any real difference because
I thought it was high, but I didn't think it was a head contact.
No, I didn't. I thought it was a shoulder and rose up.
But I'm getting confused on that. But I'm pretty sure that was the final try, wasn't it? So actually,
yeah, the hit on Piatow caused the loose ball for then the guys to pick up, and Merchant ran in, didn't he?
It was the final try of the game, wasn't it? So that was essentially almost a breakaway try, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But so I don't think, grand scheme of things, it would have made any difference on the result of the game. Bristol were down to 13, weren't they? So
yeah,
potentially if he got yellow carded for a high tackle, then obviously it would have levelled it out by one player. But the game was done. And Bristol were on their arses, weren't they? At the end of the day, that was the big difference. Like you were saying, the energy from Quins, they just seem to have a different level of energy and fitness, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Certainly in the final quarter, sort of thing. So, final quarter and extra time.
Yeah. So let's put that to the side a second. But I just want to kind of test what your kind of view is on this, because obviously significant players for Bristol throughout the season have been Earl and Malins. How many did Malins get? He didn't get a hat trick in the final, did he? But he scored in the final.
Two tries.
Yeah, and obviously Earl scored a try in the final, semi-final. Sorry.
Yep.
They go back to Saracens next season. Do you think Bristol lose a level of? Do they lose a lot? What I mean? Are they gonna be as good next season? Do you think?
Well, I think. No, it's going to hurt those two going. They're huge players, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. So if you just lose those two and don't replace them with sort of like for like quality, then I think that weakens the Bristol squad. But whether Pat Lam and Bristol have got got that covered, so to speak, we'll find out, I'm sure, in the off season. But and I actually think I wasn't that impressed with Nathan Hughes, and I haven't been that impressed. Occasionally, he sort of played. He used to be a real dominant, go forward, line breaking type of, get forward momentum type of player. But I just don't see that in him.
No,
certainly
I don't
consistently anymore.
He was quite.
So I would argue you're better off with someone like Ben Earl than Nathan Hughes potentially, but going forward sort of thing as a squad. But it's just singling out individuals. But
I know you don't like doing that, mate.
There were a few guys off. In the second half, in particular, I thought losing Charles Piatow to not coming back from his HIA, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That had a massive impact on them as well. So you say it's the combination of factors that did have a massive impact, because he was just on fire, wasn't he? Like in the first half, I think he made something stupid like 120 or 140 meters or something in the 42 or 43 minutes or something that he was on the pitch. It was just unbelievable.
And then with him going off, Bristol seemed to lose that kind of gel, didn't they? Because Ranrandra didn't really, pick it up. If you lost someone like that, you'd expect the guys, like Ranrandra to pick up the. Well,
Malins, I thought Malins did very well. And I actually thought if you're losing Piatow, and then he took Morahan off, didn't he? Which was surprising, because that essentially weakened. You put Jan Lloyd, wasn't it? Went in and Piers O'Connor, which they're not out and out back three players. So that was quite a surprising move, I thought. I mean, not taking anything away from, they're both fantastic players, but they're not first choice wingers or fullbacks, are they? So
no, absolutely.
Like I say, a combination of factors, but you can't take anything away. It's difficult. I think every single Quins player played outstandingly well. But the few that you named stood out for me as well. In particular, I think the two youngsters in the back three, Green and Liner, I thought they were superb. And actually, Joe Marchant, I thought, had a fantastic game as well. Probably the best game I've seen since he's returned to Harlequin for him. But,
he did play well.
you don't need to mention the likes of Danny Care and Marcus Smith because
Well, no, that's just it.
they're doing it week in, week out, don't they?
Yeah, and to be fair, they seemed quite quiet in the game. They just went about their business. I don't recall the comms sort of mention them that much, which kind of suggests that everybody was playing quite well and it was more of a team effort than relying on individual brilliance, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean they're running the game, aren't they? So you don't have to be doing individual brilliance all the time to pull that out, do you? But they still had very, very good games, didn't they? Marcus Smith,
definitely
was fantastic again. But yeah, just amazing, mate, amazing. Like it just
it was.
You can't as a neutral, and in reality, as a supporter of either side, you can't wish for anything more out of a semi-final. It's just
it was a fantastic.
And you can't wish for anything more for whoever's coming out of the other semi-final to play them as well, because they've just run each other into the ground for 130, 120, 110 minutes, 120 minutes, whatever it was.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a fantastic achievement. So let's just move on, and just before we talk about Chiefs Sale, interesting kind of decisions, and obviously Rob Baxter, the holy one, which I might now call him, made the decision to drop two-time British Lions Stuart Hogg and bring in Jack Noel, who's just returned from injury.
Yeah, and you were questioning that, weren't you? I did. Knowledge. What are you doing, Baxter? I think was what you.
I did. But let's be realistic. It's Stuart Hogg.
Worked. Let's be realistic. Don't ever question Baxter again.
Question Baxter. Yeah, he's definitely not going to be returning any of my calls from now on. Not that he did anyway. I mean, Jack Noel, he played fantastic. Got 2 great tries. I think what the difference with this game was, Exeter actually came onto the pitch at the kickoff and started playing right from the beginning, rather than having the slow start that they seem to have had over the last few weeks and clawing their way back into the game and finishing off. And that's not to take anything away from Sale, because Sale played really well, despite all the disruptions of losing McGinty. And then they lost one of the James boys before the kickoff. He had a bit of a back spasm. Sale played their part in another really good semi-final, but a very different sort of semi-final to obviously the Quins Bristol one.
Oh yeah, massively different. There's no way you can't compare that to anything to that, can you? But and going back to predictions, I'm pretty sure I went for Chiefs and you went for Sale for this one. So we're one each, mate, on the semis.
Yeah, well, I'll take that, mate. Like I said to you in the text, the Harlequins one was the one I really wanted. So,
but I would always want Chiefs out of anything. But let's bar for there, obviously.
Never gonna be there.
It will be next season, don't you worry, mate. Anyway, yeah,
Chiefs.
I agree. Mate. I mean, we said, and I think Baxter said that's a challenge to his players, didn't he? That
yeah, absolutely.
Rather than playing how they play as Exeter, as in waiting for a reaction to go down in the game and have to leave it till late to come back. Rather than waiting till that point, my challenge to the guys is next week come out and do that from the kickoff, and that's exactly what they did, isn't it? So yeah, and I just had a feeling that he would get that whatever it needed to switch, that minor little tweak to make that happen. And I think the simple reality was that Exeter last week only played their Exeter way and their A game for that last quarter, essentially, wasn't it? That that huge comeback. Whereas this week they brought their A game at the beginning, and unfortunately, Sale's A game, even if they're playing their A game, isn't going to match at the moment. But not to say they didn't contest. It was a well contested game, obviously. But I personally just thought it was never in doubt. Although Sale did very well and kept it within a score or just 2 scores.
Yeah, they kept in the game.
Yeah, and in all honesty, normally if I was watching that semi-final, I would be thinking it's Chiefs all the way. You'd just be confident in that. But I think just after watching the Quins game before and what happened in that, there was always that, oh crikey, this is still Sales to win sort of thing. But
yeah, I agree. What did you think of Tuilangi's hit, which he got Simbin for on Capstick? Was it a red? Should it have been a yellow?
Um, personally, I think under the current letter of the law, probably should have been a red. But is what it is, isn't it? As I said on so many of these before. Decision made should be anyway. Decision made, referee's decision, and everything in the game. Move on. But what was your opinion on it?
I thought it was a yellow was fair enough. I didn't actually think it was a red.
Okay,
but I'm not a referee. I could be wrong. I thought Capstick kind of dipped a bit at the end. I don't know, mate. It didn't, Jesus. It didn't. It had the impact, didn't it? Because obviously Exeter got a. Did they get a couple of tries when Tuolangi was off? Was it just one?
I'm not actually. They definitely just one, but I think it possibly was the two. They got two.
Yeah.
In quick succession early doors, though, didn't they? So it may well have been both. Or one was just after he came back. But no, I personally, they would have got those tries, whatever, mate. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think
And in all honesty, I think two of the tries, Cowan Dickey's and Jack Nowell's second try, I think it was, were both quick taps.
Yeah, they were.
5 meters out. So that's just.
Well, that was Sales switching off.
Not going to be happy with that, is he?
No, that was Sales switching off and not being. I mean, that's schoolboy. You never turn your back on a penalty. You always walk backwards, and you're always ready for anything, aren't you? So yeah, I can imagine he's going to be pretty frustrated. So I think what's kind of come out of this is Sale are obviously on the right course to consistently be in the top four, fighting for the honours. But obviously Exeter Chiefs are, and something that we've said in a number of podcasts, they're maybe just slightly further ahead in the journey. And it's going to make for a humdinger of a final. I just wondered though. Obviously, did you see Baxter's interview after the game?
No, I didn't actually.
He was talking about the inconsistency in. He was all for obviously player safety, but he was talking about the inconsistency in the citing commissioner's stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I think he had an interview earlier in the week, voicing the same, wasn't it? But yeah, so I think I probably understand what he was saying there. But
I think it's quite interesting. I think there is sort of levels of inconsistency, and it does need to be reviewed. But obviously, that's not something that we're able to kind of influence. That it's going to be the people higher up, and it's clearly raising issues with one of, if not the best DOR in the kind of country. If Baxter speaks, then people need to listen.
It's not just Baxter, though, is it? I think it's clear and evident that it's been even more so this season. It's been an issue, and there's been too many red cards, and it's had impacts on too many games, hasn't it? So something definitely needs to be changed. And the other thing Baxter, I think, was talking about is the like you say, the sort of consistency or inconsistency in the decision citing panels or whatever for length of bans, or should there be bans at all, and all that sort of thing, isn't it? So it'd be good if it's reviewed and for the better of the game, hopefully.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's just look ahead to next weekend's game, and I'm going to raise something else that I've completely forgotten about, which is really weird. I think I've just got caught up in the semi-final hullabaloo. Who's winning the final, mate? Come on.
Well, after last weekend, either.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Chiefs, mate, Chiefs.
Ah, come on, that's going to be Quins, mate.
No,
Chiefs. Mighty Quins.
No, Chiefs, mate, Chiefs.
Do you think Quins have had, like England had in the semi-final of the World Cup, their game where they, England beat the All Blacks? Do you think that was Quins' game in the semi-final?
As you know, I didn't anticipate that they would beat Bristol in the semi-final, and I certainly didn't anticipate that they would win in the manner that they did. So that's shown, proven me wrong, that there's a side of Quins that I didn't think was there. I thought when it came to a tight game against one of the top four sides, that they would fold, like they have a few times already this season.
Yeah.
So they proved me wrong that. So certainly never say never, and you can't. If you give them ball to play with and give them a shot at it and let them get their tails up, then they're a dangerous side to anyone. But I just think, barring a load of injuries or a load more injuries or absentees,
an early red card, or
yeah. I just think Chiefs. They're just going to have too much nice experience, and the Chiefs' way, it's just going to strangle Quins. At the end of the day, I think Baxter even alluded to it, didn't he? He said teams like that, you just got to keep the ball. You can't let them have the ball. It's simple, and Chiefs know better than anyone how to do that, don't they? So
yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Well, obviously, I'm not going to change my decision. I'm going to back Quins in the final. And
why are you backing Quins?
Well, here's why, Oliver. I'm about
you're
to tell you.
From Devon, and Exeter Chiefs are our local top Premiership side. Why are you not supporting the Chiefs?
Because I'm my own individual person and I like it. Anyway, this is why I am going to say the Quins are going to win. Okay. Esterhazen will be back from his ban. He'll fit back into the centre. And I just think it's too much of a fairy tale story for it not to happen. I love I just love it.
You're a dreamer, is that what you're saying? You're a dreamer.
Well, maybe I've got my rose-tinted glasses on, you would say, but I just think Quins are gonna do it, mate. Quins are gonna win. You've heard it here on the Top 2 Inches Rugby podcast.
Well, obviously, a final's a final.
Anything can happen.
Certainly, going by the way they're playing and that performance last weekend, then yeah, they got a cracking, as good a shot at the title as they're ever going to have. But no, I would back Chiefs anyway because I'm a Devon boy. I've got loyalties like that, which you obviously haven't. But anyway, I genuinely. Pardon?
You support Bath.
I do.
Somerset. No, you Devon kid. It's Somerset.
Okay, Gareth.
Anyway, listen.
Were Chiefs around when I first started supporting Bath, though?
Well, yes, they would have been. They would have been Exeter.
No, they weren't actually. No, they weren't. It was Exeter Rugby Club, not Chiefs.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
Listen.
Next Saturday, I've totally forgotten this. It's
Chiefs are winning.
No. Forget that. Forget that now. It is the warm-up game between the British and Irish Lions against Japan in Scotland.
Is that Saturday, is it?
That's Saturday, 26th of June. I've just looked on the BBC's scores and fixtures. Next Saturday, 3:00 kickoff, you've got the British and Irish Lions opening warm-up game against Japan, followed at 5:30 by Quins at Chief. What a weekend of rugby.
Wow.
The kids will be under the stairs. They will be locked up. I'll be on the sofa watching and cheering on.
England A, Scotland A on the Sunday, is it?
No fixtures to date yet, unless this is completely wrong, but I could be. I'm sure it's right.
Sunday. They played Sunday? I might have got that wrong with the date, but I'm pretty sure it's next weekend they start.
So anyway, what we thinking there? British and Irish Lions to win by a cricket score? Because Japan, I think Japan have only played one game since the World Cup. Obviously, the Lions have been down in Jersey, honing their skills, coming together as one team, one voice, one Lion. What do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know, mate. It's it doesn't always click straight away, does it? But it could be one of those that's sort of fairly well close and well contested for the first half, but then the Lions sort of start getting more and more together and clicking more as the game goes on and run away with it in the second half. But you'd probably expect a fairly comfortable win overall, I would have thought.
I would agree. That's it. And then the following weekend, it's the obviously the Lions will be in South Africa, and it's the actual first game of the tour against the Lions. So we'll have a chat about that next week as well. I think we've covered everything, mate, haven't we? Apart from obviously fantasy rugby, normality was reinstalled this week. You took the semi-final weekend by about 40 points, didn't you? I think.
Yeah, back to normal, mate. Back to normal. Like just like Exeter Chiefs coming strong at the right time of the season, mate.
Interesting. Okay, that's everything, mate. So thank you very much, and we'll catch up again next week.
Okay, mate. It's been fun chatting.
Always fun, mate. Always enjoy it. Anyway, you take care. Enjoy your day off that you're going to have, and we'll catch up next week.
Cheers, mate. Speak to you
Cheers,
next
mate.
week.
See you soon. Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Bye. So that was episode 38 of the Top 2 Inches. Thank you once again for choosing to listen, to download and subscribe to our little podcast. We will obviously be back next weekend with the results of the Gallagher Premiership final. We will also check in on the news from in and around the game and anything else that sparks our interest. We are available on all major platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, Anchor and Apple Podcasts. We are over on Twitter at Top2InchesRP and Instagram at Top2InchesRP. So go over there, like us, give us a follow, check out the content that we put up and get involved in what we're kind of putting out there. Anyway, like I said, we will be back next week and catch you soon. See you then. Bye for now.